welcome back to Advanced Power BI full course. Particularly this lesson we are going to learn about how to calculate profit using Power Query. For that, let me open the expense and profit revenue Excel where our data is present. So this is the data set where you can see that income and expenses there. We're going to also create another new column that is called profit over here, where we can see the income minus expense. That amount will give us as profit. So for that, let me open our main Excel sheet where we are calculating all our calculation. For that, I'm going to import the dataset first. Let me expand this Excel sheet and launch the Power Query editor. Once I launch the Power Query editor, left hand side we can see all our table till this point what we have imported. These are the few of the tables that which is already connected and it is active throughout this course whatever we have done till this point. I'm going to create a new connection or import the data, that revenue and expense, using the Power Query editor. For that, I'll click on home and I'll go to the new source. I'll choose the file and that is in Excel workbook. I'll navigate through which folder our data is present, that our revenue and expense. So I'll navigate that one and choose the Excel sheet. So let me quickly check where my data is present. I'll choose the revenue versus expense and here it is. So once I double click on it, it will give the prompt and I'll choose table 1 because it is in table format. Once I click on OK, our data is loaded over here in Power Query editor. And this data is not in very much intuitive format. So let me transpose it by going to the for transform and click on transpose. Once I do that, our year column has become as first row. So let me bring it to the header. For that, I'll go to the transform. I'll click on use first row as header. And you can see that all year column has become first header. And this column will become store ID. So I'll write quickly as store ID. And we have 3 store IDs. This is the description about our expense, income and profit. And let me hit enter. Once I do that, our table is nicely formatted, but here is some gap as null value. So I'll do, because it is one group, this is for another group and this is for store ID 12 group. Let me right click and fill it down so that all the respective store IDs will be there for their corresponding income and expense. So our data is neat and nicely cleaned and formatted and our data is ready. Let me load this data, close and load, and we can visualize this on spreadsheet. Our data is ready, nicely formatted, clean. Let me rename this tab name as income and expense because this table has only income and expense. I'm going to create another new table or new or Power Query where we can include the profit apart from this income and expense, and that will become underneath of this expense row. So we are going to calculate for each of the store ID. For that, let me open this Power Query editor, and before that I'll rename the table name so that we can easily refer it to for our reference purpose. So I'll give this table name as revenue underscore expense underscore profit and hit enter. So once I do that, our table name will become renamed, and let me remove couple of steps so that we could go back to our original step, and uh, and let me fill it down. Let me copy this, close and load. So once I do that, our table name has become it has changed. So let me open it once again. And now what I'll do, I'll create a duplicate of this query. For that, right click and click on duplicate. So our query became duplicate. And let me rename the original query, which is only revenue and expense, and hit enter. And this one, new one, duplicated one, I'll keep as only revenue, expense and profit. And let me remove few steps from the last so that we could go back to original state how we have imported as raw. As you can see, we can create a new column over here as profit, but if we right click on it, we cannot do that like we can do in Excel. So there is no other way. We can create a duplicate column. With the help of this, what we can do, we'll be creating duplicate for income, expense, and then we can minus the income minus expense. That's how we can create the profit column. So for doing that, let me quickly create a duplicate column for both income and expense. And now what I'll do, we can do it in couple of ways, but let me show first in the copied methods. So I have already copied this income and expense. So basically I have made a duplicate copy of exact store ID 10 and 10 income and 10 expense. So what I can do, I can click on this income, hold on the control key from keyboard and choose the expense and go to the add column where we can do all the mathematical operations. But if I click home, transform or add column, if you see those trying to find out those mathematical operation, you cannot see that. Even if I go to the add column, you are able to see that mathematical operation is grayed out. So there is another, even if we are trying to create a custom column and if we give the formula over there, then also it will not work. So let me show you how, if even if we do that, that will not work. So if I click on it, our custom column name will be creating and column name will be custom. We can rename it, but for time being demo purpose I'm not showing that. Let me choose this column 2, the copy one, minus, then column 3 copy, and click on OK. Even if I do that, it is not, it is giving the error because of that data type is not correct. So let me change it to uh, decimal number. So once I do that, it will not give the calculation because it was initially the data type was in text format. So let me remove this. And now if we do the again the follow the step, now it will work because now it has become from text to numeric format. Even if I choose the column 2, then if I minus it, and then if I click OK, now it will work because initially it was in text, now it has become number. This is one way, and we can do another way that I'm going to show, but this time I'm not going to copy. So copy the store ID 11 and 12. I'm going to directly do from the original column. I don't need this column 2 and column 3, and so I'll remove this one. For that I'll choose these two by pressing control key button, right click and remove columns. We can give the, we can rename this column name, and let me, we can rename this at any point, like during the creation of the formula or after creating the formula. Let me rearrange this for this column adjacent to that, so that that income for store ID 10 and expense for store ID 10 and the profit of its store ID 10 will be same. So let me do the same operation for store 11 as well, and 12 as well. So for that, if I go to the add column and we can do the custom column. And let me see what are the column name first. So column, so okay, this data type is fine. Okay, so I'll create a custom column and I'll choose, you can rename over here itself, like as I stated, during this time itself we can give. And this is for the store 11, so I'll create store 11 underscore profit. And this is for the column 5, 4 and 5, yeah, 4 minus column 5, and click on OK. So this is the profit for store 11. So I'll bring them adjacent to the store ID, store 11 expense, so that it will be adjacent to that, all the relevant column will be nearby. So let me drag this column and keep it beside expense. So same thing we are going to do over here for store 12. If I click on custom column, and I can choose this column 6 minus column 7, click on OK. And this is for store 12. Giving the name at this point is not necessary always, but it always recommended to give, so that we can refer if at any point if we need to refer. So I'll make sure all the 10 store IDs will be one together, and 11, 12 will be in their respective group together. So let me transform, click on transform and transpose this. Now we can turn this into our like as we need. So as we have did for previous time, I'll use this first row as header, so that it will become first header. And this column 1 is nothing but store ID. So for this we have some errors, and this error value we can replace it with null, so that it will become event. And for that I'll right click and click on replace error, and this error will be replaced with null. So I'll write it null and click on OK. All the error value become null. So I'll right click on it and I'll go to the fill and fill down, so that all the respective store ID will become 10 and it is one group. And these descriptions, it also has some error, and this error value is nothing but our profit, which we have already calculated. For that I'll right click and click on replace error, and this error I want to replace with profit, so I'll type as profit and click on OK. So once I do that, our uh, income, expense and profit will become in one group together for their corresponding store IDs. So this is that's how we can calculate this. And let me close and loop to our spreadsheet, so that it will look fine. Okay, so now let me quickly rearrange this, and this is for our revenue, expense and profit. But see, there is if we want to do some more calculation we can do, but that is the one method that I have already shown you. Let me quickly show another way how we can calculate the profit. So that was another method, and right now I'm going to create another method. This is the Power BI Reader. Let me open it and create a duplicate copy of the query. I'll right click and click on duplicate. This is the original one and this is the duplicate one. So let me rename it as profit underscore subtract, and this is the second method which I'm going to show you. Let me hit enter and our Power query is ready. We can remove some of these steps to go back to our original state, or we can go to simply transform and transpose this. For that I'll click on transform and click on transpose. We can do that, but we may lose our, or let me remove this transpose method last from the very last one, and we are in the previous stage. So here is the headers for year. So let me click on transform and click on use header as first row. That's how we can retain our year rows and will not lose that one. Now we can do the transpose. Once I do that, our original data set is back, how we imported in the very first time. But if we closely look, there is the this uh, header row is now containing the store ID. I want to retain that one, and that is very much important. But there is some column that is called profit, which we don't need because that we got it from the previous calculation, and we're going to new calculate the profit. So for that, I want to remove this selected column. I'll click on remove columns so that our old profit columns will go. And now I want to make this row 1 as header. So, and I don't want this description as of now because we know every alternate row is income and expense. So for that, I'll click on transform and use first row as header. And I want to delete the first row now because that is the description row, and I'll click on rows, remove top rows, and I want to just delete one single row. I'll give one and click on OK so that our description row will go away. Now our data is ready and we can perform that simple mathematical calculation. I'll choose this first column, the store retain, and hold on the control key, and I'll choose the second column and go to the add column. From standard, I'll choose subtract. So basically it will subtract from revenue minus expense and it will create the profit. Let me rename it as store 10 underscore subtraction. So we can rename the subtraction as well for timing and giving a subtraction and making is to adjacent column. Same thing I'll apply over here, and same methods I'm going to use for store 11 as well, and this is for store 11 underscore subtraction, and let me bring back to adjacent to the store uh, underscore 2, and same thing I'll do for store 12 as well. Mistake. Okay, now it should be fine. Yeah, now it is calculated for store 12. Hit enter. Now this is our like under subtraction underscore subtraction, that is our profit column. So let me do our original table format. For that, I'll click on transform and use first row, use header as first row so that we can obtain our store informations. Now we are going to transpose this so that we can go back to our the uh, native table. For that, I'll go to the transform and click on transpose. Now our column is containing, this is for the store information. Let me create a duplicate column, and one we can use for the store information and another we can use it for the income or revenue, expense and profit. So this is the another column, but I did a mistake, not mistake actually. It will not be very much helpful if we continue with the second column because the expense revenue, it is not mentioned over here. So I'm going to remove this column, and what I'll do, I'll go back to the transpose mode. Okay, so I'll go back to I'll use this uh, uh, first row as header, and I'm going to rename this column as uh, 10 underscore revenue, then 10 underscore expense, and 10 underscore, either we can keep it as subtraction or we can keep it as profit. That's how it will be very much helpful, because if the data is present as in row format, it is little bit challenging for us to manipulate or edit the data, but it is very much easy where the if the data is present in column header. So let me quickly rename for all the store 10, 11 and 12 as revenue, expense and profit. This will be very much, this way we can very much easily do the manipulation. So I'll do for all the subtraction, I'll change all the subtraction as profit, and for store 12 also I'll change it as underscore revenue. Hit enter. This will become 12 underscore expense. Hit enter, and this will become 12 underscore profit. Hit enter, and now our data is ready. Now if I go back to transform and transpose, I have lost the header. So let me undo the last step and we can get back our previous step, and I need to make it as row. So for that I'll go over here and click on use header as row, and that's how we can make it as in first row. Now we can do the transpose, and here you can see that our year is present as first row, so I'll make it as first row as header, and this is I'll make a duplicate copy of the first column, because now it is very much easy for us to manipulate as revenue, expense or profit. I'll quickly make it adjacent to two of these two column. So what I'll do, I'll right click and replace this value 10 underscore 11 underscore and 12 underscore with nothing, so that it will be remaining only revenue, expense and profit. So I'll quickly do those things. I'll right click, replace values 11 underscore with nothing, click on OK, and same thing I'll do for store 12. For store 12 I'll write 12 underscore with nothing, click on OK, and same operation we'll do for column 1. I'll do right click, and at this time instead of 10 I'll replace underscore revenue underscore expense and underscore profit with nothing, so that our only store IDs will be remaining. So same steps I'll be repeating couple of times. This time I'll choose expense, and last we have that is underscore profit. Click on OK. Okay, now our data is clean, and let me close and load to our Excel sheet. If we okay, now our data is on Excel sheet. Let me quickly rearrange these sheets. If we closely look this data, I missed some of the header name, that is store ID and the description. So let me quickly do this for store ID and description by clicking on this query. I click on edit. I'll quickly rename column 1 as store ID and column 1 dash copy will become as description. Hit enter and go to home, close and load, and our data is nicely cleaned and formatted in the proper way. So this is the another method that you have seen now. So once we do this, our if our data is getting updated. Let's say there is a store ID 13 has been incorporated, and let's say for 2023 also some of the data has been entered by our uh, production team. And let me import some of the numbers, and we're going to refresh this, and this will become automatically updated into our Power Query editor, or we can see the result in the um, table which we have already made the connection. So I have chosen the rand between, and I'm going to do a value paste in Excel, and I'll open that our Excel sheet where we made the connection and click on refresh. So once I do the refresh, there is a key difference I want to show. uh, this has not updated because it is a duplicate, but if we click over here the original one, so our data has been updated now because this is originally connected. That is the key difference between duplicate query and the original query. So original query, it gets updated when it is refreshed, but if it is a duplicate query, then the updated data will not be refreshed because that takes as static data. That's the reason the duplicate uh, query does not take the refresh one. These two are the major important between duplicate and original query. Hello and welcome back to Advanced Power BI full course. In this section, we are going to learn about group by from Power Query. Let me open the product table, and this product table we want to group this product type, that electronics, apparel and food, along with the price each. So basically I want to create a average that is based upon the product type. So for that, let me open the let me launch the Power Query editor and import this dataset into the Power Query editor. So I'll go to the home. From new source, I'll choose the file and I'll choose the product table. Once I do that, I want to do the group by that is based upon the product and product type. So product type I want to group by and I want to get their average. So for that, let me choose these two column and remove all other remaining column. So for that, I'll choose remove other columns, and we have only these two column. And I want to do the group by. For that, I'll choose this group by, and once this group by is there, I want to give the column name as average underscore, that is based upon product type. And this is actually very basic group by. So I want to get the average. So here many of the operations are there, as you can see, but I want to stick with average, and this is based upon the price each, and I'll click on OK. This will give the product type like electronic, apparel and food, and their average price each column. Let me bring it to the Excel sheet, and our data is ready. So this is the table name. Let me rename this table name by double clicking on it, because just I don't want it to keep only as table 1. So I wanted to take this column name and paste it over here. I'll paste over here and hit enter key, and our table name also has been updated. And let me close and apply, and same thing I'll paste it over here so that all the name will be relevant. And this is nothing but very basic grouping from the Power Query editor. I'm going to show you in few moments how we can do the advanced grouping as well. Thank you. So now we'll look about the advanced grouping. For that, this is the sales table, and I'll import the sales table into the Excel workbook using Power Query. So I'll launch this Power Query editor and import the cells in order to explain the advanced grouping. So advanced grouping is multiple scenarios, and based upon multiple selection we can do the grouping. That is the advanced one. So I'll choose this table 1 and click on OK to import the sales table. Once I do that, as you can see, all the attributes and informations has been loaded over here. Let me check the data types. If all data types are fine and it is as per the requirement. If any data points are not as per the correct data type, so I'll change it for our calculation purpose. It seems this sale date is not correct, so I'll change it to the date format. So it will change from text to proper date format. And it seems till this point all other attributes are fine. It seems remaining all things are fine. Let me just verify quickly for a moment. Yeah, so all numerics are in numeric format and free texts are in text format. So what I'll do the grouping based upon the product name and based upon the transaction type. Basically the product name and how they are being purchased or ordered. So for that I'll click on transform and click on group by, and I'll click on advanced instead of basic. In advance, and I'm going to keep this product name, and now I want to change from here to transaction type. So based upon product name and transaction type, and I want to keep the column name, and this grouping will be on based upon the total sum. We can do any other operations as we like, but in this case I want to do only for sum on the total sales, and the column name I'm going to give as total sales. And another row I'm going to add, that is for the counts, and this count is we can keep as total count, and this will give us total count. So I'll click on OK. What the result will come, that I'll quickly show you. This is the result, and this result is based upon the product name and transaction time, but that is based upon the total sales. And also we have chosen for the counts, like how many transaction has been happened. Let me sort this product name so that you can find it more meaningful. As you can see that gaming monitor, it has grouped together, but the transaction type is digital marketing, store, online reselling, network marketing. uh, so this is a sort one based on product name. And let me do another uh, descending order on counts. So it will give the topmost count, and it will also give based on the product. As you can see, gaming monitor has 16 counts. If I come to batteries, that is online transaction, which got 24 counts. And for Apple AirPod headphones, it is 24 counts, that is online. And similarly for rest of the things like headphones, and it has around 8 counts. And these are the key difference, and this is very much powerful and intuitive, that we can get most important information out of this using this advanced grouping. So let me close and load to our Excel sheet, and I'll change this table name as well. I'll change it to advanced underscore, or maybe I'll keep it as advanced grouping. I'll copy this and hit enter, so that it will rename this query as well as I'll paste the same name over here as a tab name. This is for advanced grouping. So that's how we can do the advanced grouping in Power Query editor. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Advanced Power BI full course. In this section, we are going to see about handling dates. So particularly in this lesson, we will be checking how we can do mathematical operation on dates, and I'll do subtract in this case. So this is the supplier transaction. Sometimes what happen, the suppliers delaying to supply our orders, and due to that maybe our customer also suffering, and they are getting delayed order when the suppliers giving our order in delay manners. So we want to avoid that. So for that analysis, I'm going to import these datasets inside our Power Query editor, and we are going to see whether they are delaying or not. So that operation we are going to see right now. So this is the date format, and as you can see, there are at the rightmost column there are order date, required date, and the actual delivery date. So I'll import this in our Excel workbook using the Power Query editor. I'll click on get data and click on launch Power Query. So it will give a small pop-up window where we can choose the dataset. So before that, I'll click on go to home and I'll choose the file name. And in this case, we want to open the supplier transaction, where we are going to analyze the supplier transaction, who we like whether they are delivering on time or not. So it is in table format, so I'll choose the table and click on OK. So this is the table that preview you are able to see. We have to make sure that all the data types are in correct format, and the date also should be in correct date format. Like you can see that order date, required date, actual date, these are all fine. This amount should be numeric, and dates also should be in correct format. So if it is not correct format, we need to change it from this icon, and this is fine. Then only we will be able to do the subtract action in our Power Query. So it seems that all our data points are correct and data types also perfect, and I'm going to calculate whether the supplier is delivering or delaying our expected beyond our expected date or not. So to find out that one, we want to subtract this order ID minus the actual delivery date. So they're actually delivering on the date based upon this actual delivery date. So I'll choose both the date column and I'll go to the add column, and from date I'll choose subtract days. So what it will do, it has given in negative way because the order I have choose in incorrect manner, because order ID I have chosen first and then I have chosen actual delivery date. So we can remove this error by clicking on this settings icon over here, and as you can see that order date is first and actual delivery date is last. So I'll reverse this order. I'll cut from here and I'll paste it over here in front of order date, and I'll put minus sign, and from the last I'll remove this space and minus sign, and I'll click on OK. By this way we can change the negative sign, and while we are choosing the date, we can first choose the actual date, then I can choose the order date, then we can go to add column and click on date and subtract days. In this way also we can do the action so that it will not come the negative value over here. So I can choose, like I can rename the column name from here. I'll give this column name as supplier processing time, because supplier takes this much long time or this many days to deliver our order to us. Supplier processing time, and hit enter. So this is the actual date how they are taking time. Now we have also required it, like we want our order to be come within certain point of time, within few days, and we have given the delays like dates. So same thing, I have done the operation, and this is for our due date. So we want within this due dates. uh, okay, I think I made some mistake, because one cannot be our expected date or the due date, like from the order date we don't want within 1 day, and that is not possible also for B2B business. So I think I made some mistake. So let me recalculate it, because from the order date our required date I need to subtract. So let me remove from the last few steps and redo this step. I want to basically minus from required date the order date. So or required, I want to required date should be first. So I'll select this, hold the control key, and then I'll choose order date. Now I'll go to the add column, I'll go date, click on subtract days. Yeah, now it's fine. So our expected date or the due date is 4. Let me change the column name as due date. Okay, and our expected due date is 4/5/4/5. These are the expected due dates, and supplier processing time is 5, whereas our expected due date is 4. So as clearly you can see, sometimes they are able to meet our expect, sometimes they are not able to make mistake. And where you can see in this case our expected date is 6, but it took sometime 5, 10, or maybe sometime 4. So sometimes suppliers are able to meet our expectations, sometimes they are failing. So this is very much important, but at the same time it is very much useful insights for our business, so that we could contact our uh, suppliers to give, or we can tell them that okay, these are the things happening, sometimes they are delaying and sometimes they are not. So we can take a very meaningful and useful insights, and this we can bring to the stakeholders as well. So that's how we can do this calculation, or we can perform the subtraction on dates. Let me bring this to our spreadsheet. I'll click close and load. So our things, it has come. Let me quickly rename this table name. I'll double click on it, and I'll change this table name as due. I'll give this table name as due versus, yeah, I'll give as due versus process or processing. I'll keep it, and I'll uh, give as processing time, due versus processing time, and I'll copy this and hit enter key and close and load, and I'll paste over here in this tab as well, tab name, to give the tab name. And that's how we can perform subtract dates. Hello and welcome back to Advanced Power BI full course. In this section we are going to see some more advanced operation that we can do on date. For that, just now we have handled these data sets, and I have added few more additional data points as a two more additional column I have added in this supply transaction. So as you can see, I have added two more columns, that is product ID and quantity, and this we are going to analyze inside our Power Query editor. Sometimes what happen, we need to find out the number of transactions happened on a weekly basis, like in a week on which day how many transactions happened. We need to find out that one. We need to sometimes group by that one, and that's what we are going to analyze over here. For that, let me open this into our Power Query editor. So I'll click on queries and connection, and this is the dataset already we have imported. So I'll double click on it, and as you can see that these are the data already we have queried. So I'll remove some of the unwanted columns, and I'll keep only the date as well along with the important columns which we are going to analyze, like number of transactions and all. We are going to keep it over here. I'm going to remove this tax one. These are fine. So I'll first I'll create the connection. I'll close and load so that we can keep only the important attributes and nothing else. This is fine, these are fine. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to find out the day of the week. For that, I'll open this Power Query editor, and based upon this order date I am going to find out which uh, name of the day, like a name of the day of a particular week, and based upon that weekday how many transactions happened. For that, I'll double click on this due versus processing time, this query, and that Power Query editor has been opened, and I'll choose this order date. I'll select this order date, and I'll go to the date column. I'll choose this first. I'll click on add column, then I'll go to date, and I'll go over here and choose name of the day. So it will give the name of the day for every week. And as you can see, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, these are the name of the day for single week, and these are the quantity. So I want to group by this day name along with the quantity, like the quantity in the sense the number of transactions happened for a particular day. So for that, I'll click on either home or transform. I'll click on group by, and this group by is based upon the day name. So I'll remove this quantity from here, click on delete, and this ones I want to see the count rows, because I want to see the number of transactions for a particular week, for a weekly basis. So I'll keep it as count rows and click on OK. And as you can see that Wednesday has more transaction compared to other days, followed by the Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, and there are like least days are in Saturday, Friday or Sunday. Let me import, close and load, and I'll import this to our Excel workbook so that we can do some more operation in future. And if I do that, it will update our existing table, and it will show only this day name and count. So let me show you first what will happen. So if I do close and load, it will change our existing table, and basically it will replace that one, and it will do that one. So I don't want to disrupt our original calculation, maybe if it is required in our future. So what I'll do, I'll make a duplicate copy of it. So I'm doing Control Z, and I'll double click on it, and what I'll do, make a duplicate query, click on duplicate so that I don't have to mess in the original data or the original query. So I'll give the name as day. I'll give this as day versus quantity load. This query name is day versus quantity load. Hit enter, and now I'll go home and click on close and load. So that's how we can get like we can do some more advanced features or some more advanced operation we can do on dates in Power Query. All right, thank you. Hello and welcome back to Power BI Advanced Full Course. In this section, we are going to calculate the most delayed date in the week. In the previous section, already we have seen how we can calculate the number of transactions in a weekly basis. And now we are going to see weekly basis the most delayed day. And this is very much crucial for our business because we don't want to order our we are not going to order or we're going not going to place any order on that particular day where we know that obviously delay will be happening, so we want to avoid those days. For that, I'll open this Power Query and create a duplicate copy. Right click and click on duplicate, and we're going to analyze over here. So I'll give the query name as I'll remove this. I'll give as day versus delay day and hit enter. So in this point we are going to analyze, we are going to get back our original data, and we are going to analyze that how weekly basis how many transactions are there, and weekly basis which day uh, our delay is happening, like which day in a week that delay is happening, and how many transaction is not getting delayed and how many transaction is getting delayed, and that is based upon this weekly name and the number of transaction. So before that, I need to we need to do some calculation. That is for we want to do basically due date minus supplier processing time. If it is greater than 0, after subtracting due date minus supplier processing time, if it is greater than 0, then it is not dealing. If it is below 0, then it is dealing. So for that, I'll choose due date, then I'll choose the supplier date, and from standard I'll click on subtract. As you can see, these are in negative, so that means our expected date is 4 days, but supplier took additional 4 days, and that's the reason it has come as -4. Whereas in this +1, our expected date is 4 days, but supplier supplied within 3 days, so that means it is not delayed. So for that grouping, we can create a conditional column based upon this rule. Let me select this subtraction, and this subtraction, if it is greater than equals to 0, let me choose that operator as greater than equals to 0, then this should output as not delayed. So this is a conditional column we are going to create, and this conditional column is going to help us to create a new table, customized new table. And if it is not, then it will be delayed, and I'll click on OK. So once I do that, a newly customized custom column has been created. That is actually nothing but conditional column, and this is giving us whether it has been delayed or not delayed. And this is very much useful information because that this we are going to calculate based upon the day name. Let me give this column name as delay or not, hit enter, and I'll go to the transform and click on group by, and I'll click on advanced because I am going to do the advanced grouping. So for that, I'll choose the delay or not. First I'll choose this advanced. Basically we can do in basic, but basic will give us only one, but in advanced we can do multiple grouping. So it will be based upon delay or not, and I'm going to choose another one, that is day name. And this is the transactions. I want to count the number of transactions, so this is fine. I'll click on OK, and as you can see we have three important columns. And let me sort this day name as ascending or descending, so that all the day name will be together. I'll go to this advanced section for pivot column, and I'll choose this count. And if I click on advanced, I am clicking on don't aggregate. This will give us the delayed or not delayed with the count, like number of transaction, how many delayed happened and how many not delayed happened. Let me descending on delayed date, because we are more interested about this, how many is getting delayed. If I closely look at this right now, every day there is number of transaction that is getting delayed, and some of the transaction is not getting delayed by the suppliers. But I want to add additional column where we can find how much percentage on a weekly basis the delaying happening. So for that I need to create a total number of transactions. So for that I'll click not delayed, hold on control key and delete key. I'll go and click on add. So it will give the total number of transactions. At the same point we need the difference. For that I'll click over here and click on subtract. So out of 607 transaction, there are 11 transaction that is getting delayed. In the next one, out of 520, there is -1, -18. That means they are happening delaying more than not delaying. So let me create a custom column where we can create like how many percentage of delaying happening. I'll give the name as delay in percentage. Now I'll choose like I'll give that formula over here where we can find out subtraction divided by addition. This is nothing but the column name. I'll put inside the first bracket, then I'll multiply with 100. I'll close this parenthesis and I'll multiply with 100. This will give in percent. I'll click on OK, and this is the percent delaying happening. I'll make a round of it. I'll click on rounding, click on round up. So if I do that, it will round up to upper point. As you can see, there is 2% minus 3% delay is happening, and clearly it is visible to us that okay, let me create a percent over here. So as you can see, it has multiplied, like we have multiplied 100 two times. That's the reason it has given 200. We can remove this error by clicking on the settings wheel over here. I'll click it one time, and I'll remove this 100 from this formula and click on OK. Now this is fine. Now if I go transform and click on data type, and I can choose the percentage so that it will be correct. I need to choose the data type, and from data type I'll choose percentage. Click on insert. So that's how we can find out the percentage. And this is clearly showing that Thursday is the most delayed day in entire week, followed by the Sunday. So let me remove some of this helping column like addition and subtraction. These are the helping column I have used for our calculation purpose, which is not required right now. So I'll remove these two column. In order to remove these two column, I can right click, or I can click on this addition, hold on the control key from the keyboard and choose the subtract, and I can right click and remove. So this is very much important and one of the most useful information, as we can see that we have calculated that Thursday is the most delayed one, followed by the Sunday. And so we are going to avoid placing order on Thursday and Sunday. So I'll create a descending, sort by descending, or maybe ascending. Okay, so this is giving us in ascending way, where it has come the Thursday as top one. Yeah, Thursday is the day which we should not order or place any order from the transaction from the suppliers, followed by the Sunday. Whereas we can place the order on Saturday or Tuesday, which will be very much helpful. So I'm going to remove this addition column. So click on remove, and I'm going to remove this subtraction as well. And let me close and load this to our spreadsheet. So that's how we can do the calculation on most delayed date in a week using Power Query Editor. Thank you. So that's all for now. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Till then, take care, bye bye, and I'll see you with another new exciting video. Thank you. Bye bye.